Hi, hello. My name is Zoe, if you don't know already. I am a spoken word minister, I am a youth leader, I am the child of pastors, but most importantly, I am a Christian. This is my vlog. Questions answered. So I am answering questions that I get asked often, questions that you guys send me, and all from a Christian, godly, biblical perspective. Okay, if you didn't watch my last video, please go and watch it. And if you're not subscribed, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please subscribe and you'll get notified about all of my upcoming videos when they're posted. Okay, so let's just jump right into today's topic. Okay. I get asked often, how did I get into spoken word? Like, where did that come from? How long have I been doing it? When did I start? How did I start? All questions within that realm. There's a lot of things that led up to it, so I felt that okay, this is a good time, this is story time, just to talk about how I got there. If you watched the video before, you know that when I went to university, I went and I studied commerce, which is basically business. I studied business in school, specialized in finance and economics, and I minored in anthropology. And you know, when someone hears that, they're like, oh, they would have thought that, you know, I studied something else, something more along the lines of maybe literary arts or performing arts, you know, something of that nature. But truth is that for as long as I can remember, I've always been involved and very deeply interested in performing arts. Like, it's been a part of my extracurricular activity for as long as I can remember. I recall when I was in primary school, I used to always sing in the choir. Like, that was what I did when I was in primary school. When I was in secondary school, oh my gosh, I was in so many different choirs. I was in special choir, I was in the gospel choir, I was in, like, you know, the choir, like when we had like big like musical productions, and I played instruments and I acted and I danced, and of course, like I said, I sang because I sang in choirs, right? So I can kind of sing, kind of. All the singing that I do now, I mean, I sing for the Lord. He's the one that I sing for. The interesting thing is that my mom has probably been the biggest musical influence in my own life, because when we grew up, I mean, we'd only listen to gospel music, and you know, we used to listen to the likes of like CeCe Winans and Fred Hammond and Kirk Franklin and Joan Rosario, and you know, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So that played a big part of how I got so deeply interested in the performing arts, because I remember at some point when I was younger, I wanted to be a gospel singer. Like, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a gospel singer because I love performing arts so much. When I was in school, in primary school and secondary school, and also in university, I was always involved in some kind of like musical and performing arts production. I remember when I was in primary school, we did Joseph and the Technicolor Coat, and it was really fun. I remember I was in that. I remember when I was in secondary school, I was involved in so many different things. Honestly, to count them all, I don't think I would be able to. In high school in the UK, we had productions, like big productions, like every year, and I was always involved. I remember my favorite was probably West Side Story. We did West Side Story. Oh my gosh, I can never forget that. I want to be in America, okay, by me in America. And even in university, when I went to the University of Toronto, Mississauga, my alma mater, yes, we used to put on these productions, the African Society in university. We did these productions called Think Afrique. If you went to UTM, you probably probably know about those productions. Shout out to Nengia Doki. She's a real one for sure. I've always been like super involved in performing arts, and not just in school but also in church. I was, I think, about 12 or 13 years old when I joined the creative arts department, and initially when I had joined, it was for drama, it was for acting. We would do, you know, different dramas for different things. If there was a program coming up, maybe, you know, we wanted an interesting way to talk about the upcoming program happening in church, we would, you know, do it in a drama, how to win souls and how to invite people you know, to this program or to church. Literally performing for a good, like, majority of my life I've been on the stage in at some capacity. I really love performing arts. I really love drama. I love music. I love dance. I love the arts in general. I have a deep appreciation for the arts. It's really formed how I reason, how I think, how I like to express my creativity. It's made me who I am. For anybody out there who, you know, you're really interested or really into, you know, the arts, maybe other people around you are not valuing it as much, because, you know, when you compare arts to like science and technology, sometimes science and technology has the upper hand because it's very obvious what the benefits and outputs of those are. And then when it comes to arts, it's like, oh, you know, just faffing around and making music that doesn't amount to anything. But the arts play a very important part of our life. So I was very involved in church in the creative arts department. After drama, we did dance. So there in church is where I learned how to do praise dance. Clothes that you wear in praise dance, like, is intentionally supposed to be, like, I guess, baggy, because the idea is that you don't want it to be too form-fitting and too, like, distracting. It'll always have some kind of like space with it. The praise dance I did would always kind of be wearing like a leotard and like a long flowing skirt. I just had, I guess you could say, a knack for it because I loved dance already. I didn't have the opportunity to do formal like ballet lessons, but I always kind of just adored that dance form. So sometimes, you know, I would kind of just do it by myself and practice when I was at home, like, you know, doing the plies and, like, you know, the different, like, you know, positions and, you know, all of that, right? By myself at home. Praise dance, or we used to call it contemporary anyways, because it wasn't like really praise dance. It was leaning more towards that like contemporary type of style, like somewhere in between contemporary and praise dance is what we used to do anyway. So it was like a fusion of a lot of different styles of dance, but it was all very elegant and, you know, yeah, get what I mean? Like, yeah. Did that quite a bit. I really enjoyed that, and you know, that was when I was in the UK, and even when I came to Canada I continued being a part of the creative arts department in church. I just always just made myself available for whatever needed to be done. So if we needed to do a dance for this, I'm like, okay, like, I'm there. And you know, one day the opportunity to do spoken word, okay, we need someone to do a spoken word, can you memorize this? And because I've been doing performing arts and drama for such a long time, honestly, it wasn't a big deal for me to memorize a poem, because, you know, if you're an actor, you know, like, what it takes to memorize like lines and lines and lines and lines and lines of script. And oftentimes when you're memorizing script, you're not just memorizing your own lines, you're basically memorizing the whole thing, because you need to understand timing, you know, between yourself and whoever like else is speaking. The timing kind of informs what your response is supposed to be. All of those things matter. When, like, timing is so important when you're acting. That made it very easy for me to kind of get into that whole like memorizing spoken words. I know a lot of people ask me, oh, how do you memorize those long pieces? Like, trust me, if you can memorize a play, if you can memorize a whole script, you can memorize spoken word, right? I was asked to do a spoken word. This was, I think, in about 2009 or 2010. I think I was asked to memorize a spoken word, and it was for a special program that we were having in church. It was like a gala, partnership gala, and I memorized it, and it was great, and everybody was like, oh, that was awesome, nah. So I was like, okay, yeah, cool. But then it wasn't like necessarily the thing that I opted for. If it was something I opted for, I would have always chosen probably like hip-hop dance, like something like, you know, urban, like Afrobeat style dance. Like, I really used to dance in the day. Okay, the day wasn't like long ago. I could probably still dance if I wanted to. I really enjoyed it actually. Yeah, I'll start dancing. You'll see. I'll start dancing again. I'm very much like, you know, into that style of dance. So if I had the choice, or if I had the opportunity to choose, I would have always chosen that style of dance. I wanted to be of service and of help, because you know, in God's house, in church, it's not just about what you want to do, it's what is the need at the time, what needs to be done, what is God's desire at that moment and time, or in this, you know, in this time frame. So I always had the mindset that I like, since I'm here and I'm available, let me be relevant, let me help, right? So when it came to spoken word, that's how I was as well. If I was asked to do a spoken word, I would do it. The script, like at that time I wasn't really into spoken word, I wasn't writing poetry per se, but I would be given the script, I would memorize it. Our creative, you know, arts coordinator at the time would like coach us through it, you know, get us, you know, up to par, like with the emotion and the expression and everything. And you know, it just, you know, it was great, because it was another way of being able to express you know, the same message but just in a different medium. I was asked to do a spoken word again in church, and again, it wasn't like I was so into spoken word. I was just doing it because this was a need, right? That I could offer myself to be available to do this. So I was asked to do a spoken word, and I did People, which is actually in my channel, by the way, just in case you didn't know, you can go watch it. I did that in 2014. That was a while ago. Again, that wasn't written by me, but I memorized it and I was coached through it. I practiced, I prayed, and this was during a special program we were having in church. I really put my all into it, but I was so happy when it was over, because because I had spent so much time practicing. Like, I'm just like, okay, I've done it, thank God. That was it, like for me anyways, that was it. My pastor at the time told me that is so awesome, you know, I sent it to your dad. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, my dad told me that, you know, I watched it, it was so awesome, it was super awesome. And you know, I was getting messages from different people. Oh, I saw your spoken word, I saw your spoken word. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, you know, because it was, I guess, you know, people were sending the video around, you know, to each other. At that time, it was also being announced that we were going to be having like a major music and arts festival the following year in 2015 called LFMA, the Local Festival of Music and Arts. By the way, if you didn't already know, and this is something that I'm very proud of and I never hide, I am a child of Christ Embassy, okay? Born and raised, born and raised here, born and raised in Christ Embassy. Pastor Chris is my pastor, Pastor Chris is my father. I am proud to say that. Love World Festival of Music and Arts was been the first time we're having like this big festival in South Africa. So my initial thing was I wanted to audition dance, I wanted to audition contemporary dance, but the truth of the matter is that I wasn't professionally trained in that. If you've seen contemporary dance, like it takes a lot to be able to do that and do that well, and I wasn't really there yet. So then, you know, the thought of, okay, let me try spoken word then, because I feel that that's something I'm probably gonna be able to excel in quicker and better, because I have this background in acting anyways, or this experience in acting. I know how to memorize things real quick, and you know, I have this love and appreciation for words and expression. So let me go for it, let me try it. So I auditioned, you know, spoken word for the World Festival of Music and Arts.